again, and welcome to another Brothers in Metal.
Hello, another week.
Yep, another topic. Right, so, just briefly, what have you been listening to this week?
Well, most of my listening for the last week has been the new Volbeat album in preparation for the gig that we were going to go to next Tuesday. One of the few bands that's coming down to Oxford, so we thought we'll brave the snow to go and see it. But unfortunately, the whole tour has now been cancelled, so we're not going to see that next week.
Which is a shame. I mean, to be honest, I've probably been going to see Black Spiders.
I was secretly going to go see Black Spiders as well, but I've heard good things about Volbeat, so I thought we'd check them out. But yeah, so that's dominated my listening for this week.
I've been listening to an early Fidgefold album called, I'm going to get it wrong now, Nalafold. It's the one with Trollhammer on.
Yes.
What was actually quite nice about that was, it was listening to an old album, but realising that it's more than just Trollhammer, or more than just like the main song. So I just listened to the other ones and realising actually the whole album's very good. So that was quite pleasing.
I must admit, I've never been the biggest Finchol fan in the world, but I quite like the latest one.
Yeah.
So that was quite solid on me. So maybe I'll have to go back and listen to the back catalogue as well, I think.
And we've both been enjoying Winter Phillief. Right?
Yeah. Fantastic, good, atmospheric band.
Yeah. Mr. Bloodstock will try and catch them at some point.
Oh, I would have thought so. Yeah, well, hopefully they'll be about. I mean, they'd be a great band to be on the Bloodstock bill next year.
Yeah, so we'll see whether they make an appearance. I mean, they kind of were on the unsigned stage. I don't think they've got an album now. They're on Candlelight.
Yeah.
So they should be there. We had a couple of gigs we've ordered. We've done the Children of the Bottom Wob with the Monomarth and NC Farah.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
It's going to be a great lineup. It's probably been the busiest week for booking gigs. I mean, obviously everybody wants their Christmas money, so it's all come out this week. But.
And we've got another trade-off gigs as well. I bought Rush tickets for me and Manno here, which will be interesting for you.
It will be an experience. I won't say I'm not a Rush fan because I'm not very educated on their stuff, to be honest. So I'll have to do a bit of research, and we'll have a nice little a look from the back.
That's the one. And in return, you've got me.
Oh, Blink-182. It's a guilty pleasure, but I've obviously since I saw them headline a festival just before they broke up. I think it was Reading, and now they're back together again. So July next year, it'll be wonderful to see them. They're being supported by You Me at 6, or whatever they're called, which is another band I've been listening to this week. But I'm going to keep it quiet.
Well, actually, talking about guilty pleasures kind of brings us on to our subject for this week, which is the 5 influential albums. This is not the best albums in the world, but the albums that each one of us feel has influenced us, has kind of had a bearing on our lives. So we picked 5 each.
Yes.
We have little piles in front of us of CDs.
We actually have them. Look, it's effects and everything. There you go.
To be fair, most of my ones are actually just empty boxes. The actual CDs elsewhere.
That's because none of your CDs are in the boxes.
Yeah, I'm terrible for that.
Mine are. Ever since I've got organised now.
Is that a new version of that album?
Yeah. Well, we'll come on to that.
Yeah.
But
okay. Right. Well, what we'll do is then we'll no further ado, we'll start.
Okay. So just to stress, these are not the best albums. These are the ones that we feel have had most influence on us.
Yes.
So that's getting my excuses in early. But far away, what is your...
In chronological order, by listening rather than actual date, is this one, which is Jethro Tull, Broadsword and the Beast.
I always knew you were going to pick Jethro Tull.
This was the second album I ever bought.
Alright, what was the first album?
Silver Side Up by Nickelback.
Okay, let's over that.
So this kind of saved me in a way. Jethro Tull were the first band I ever saw live in 2004, which I went to with my dad. First T-shirt I ever bought for a band was Jethro Tull, and then the band that got me into metal, which sounds strange, given that they're not metal, but they're kind of a nice mix of that hard rock they've done on the rock side. They have the folk element as well, so I was kind of going there. Broadsword the Beast, it's not one of their folk rock albums, it's kind of a mix of everything. It's got a bit of electronic in there, it's got a bit of rock in there, it's got a bit of the folk element as well. The songs they're all good songs.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is the first album, one of the first albums I bought. Really enjoyed this one. I will talk a lot about intrinsic links today, and this one actually for me has an intrinsic link to a computer game called Sky Odyssey, which is sort of a flying game.
Yeah.
I remember fondly sitting there flying away with this in the background. They're kind of linked together in my mind.
So yeah, whenever you listen to that, you
figure that.
And Would you say that's one of the better Toll albums? I know you picked it because it's special to you,
This, yeah, I would say. I mean, I like the folk rock stuff they've done. So this is a good example of everything they do. It's perhaps not the most famous one, but it's certainly, if you're going to get into Toll, it's a good one to start with.
Sure.
The track I'd recommend is the first one called Beastie, mainly because it's got a killer bass line.
Okay.
And the song's just it's a good song.
Well,
So,
of course, speaking of bass lines, you're in good company with a lot of Toll, of course.
yes, of course. A certain West Ham chap called Stephen Harris was a big fan of Toll.
Has been down to bring them up at every opportunity.
If you do try and get hold of this, there's actually a new version of this album out with more tracks on, which I don't own. So that's probably worth
Is that
going.
because you're being true to the original, or because you're just too tight to buy it?
Well, it still works. So,
yeah, well, we'll come on to that again in a bit, actually, but yeah.
But no, that's my first one then. From 1982, Jethro Tull's Paul Saw the Beast.
Paul Saw the Beast. Very nice. Well, going straight on to my one then. Again, and these are all personal choices, but this one is particularly personal. Winnebago Deal, Plata and Ploma. Not many people might have heard of this one. The Oxfordshire two-piece that have just released a new album, actually, which hopefully will bring good things. We've said that about the last batch that they've done. LS Fiction is probably the best album that they've released, but this was one of their first ones, just a little mini EP that they did. But they're made up of two people, Ben Perrier and the other Ben, whose name escapes me, is the drummer, but Ben Thomas on drums. And Ben Perrier was a mate of a mate, so I kind of had an in with this band. But there was a time when we toured all over the county to see these guys, and we went to Rock City to see them play, and it was an excuse for us to go gigging. So they're one of the first bands I saw live, and from that, T-shirts, albums, and I've religiously bought every album they've done since. They're kind of they're heavy. They're not metal. They're a rock act. They don't have a bass, so it's relatively empty stuff. Which may be the reason why they've never really kicked off.
We saw them at Sonosphere this year, didn't we?
Yeah, with no vocals because the mic was turned off, and you guys all left me.
Well, yeah, sorry. It was that we both stupid. In a way, I'd rather have stayed and seen the rest of Winnebago Deal, I think. But
yeah, so yeah, we got to see them at Sonosphere. They're still touring. I'll have to try and catch them if they ever. They keep playing London shows, but if they ever come back home, that'd be great. But anyway, this was something that me and my mates went to see. It reminded me of good times. A lot of kind of touring around and drinking and tomfoolery and daftness. And it was probably the last time when me and my close friends saw eye to eye on music as well. So, good times.
As an adage to that, of course, this is the album with Manhunt on, which is a killer song.
Manhunt's a banging song, isn't it? Look for the video online. I implore you to look for the video online. We were very nearly in this video. It's cracking. It's well worth it. It's a good little zombie spoof. So Winnebago Deal. Kind of got me into live music, really.